Hey, Katherine. You were just telling me that somebody who is taking your nutrition class had a really good question about eating at nighttime. I know that's something that we talk to a lot of our patients about, just trying to help people through being able to stop snacking at night for a lot of different reasons, whether it's to improve digestion or work on blood sugar control. But can you talk a little bit about tips and tricks around nighttime eating?
Sure. When I was talking to this patient who was in my class, I first assured her that it's such a common concern of people, or it's just a common habit that we can get into, and is a goal for a lot of people to break that cycle of nighttime eating. Most people know they don't feel as good the next day when they eat at night. Most people actually feel much more hungry from blood sugar imbalances when they eat too late at night, and oftentimes it interferes with sleep, so they don't sleep as well, and then for some people can get them into a shame cycle where they just wake up and feel shameful the next day. So some of my tips and tricks are to, one, make sure that you're eating enough earlier in the day. And this is a really common thing that can happen, is we go through our day and we're rushed and we're hurried, or we're not very hungry earlier in our day, and that catches up with us. So truly by evening, we are very hungry. We are looking for more protein, we're looking for more calories, and that tends to lead us into some choices we don't always want to make. So making sure that people have good meal patterns, and sometimes forcing someone to eat more than they really want to earlier in the day to establish good meal habits. Oftentimes protein, I talk about a lot, making sure you get enough protein earlier in your day. So I'm okay if some people eat lighter protein in the evening, but if someone has a routine of getting into nighttime eating, I think it's really important that they eat a breakfast, and that could be 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, that has a good amount of protein, and then also a lunch that has a good amount of protein. I talk about making sure that people get enough volume of food earlier in the day, and that usually means plant food or vegetables or fiber, just making sure that they're spending time chewing and swallowing their food. Oftentimes we can eat really fast. Maybe we're getting the right amount of protein or fat or calories, but if we eat too quickly, we miss out on a lot of satiety benefits of sitting down and chewing and swallowing. So making sure you're eating enough earlier on in the day. I have people also think about, are they eating things that are stimulating appetite? So artificial sweeteners, things that are hyper sweet, we can eat things earlier in the day that can set us up to want more sweet later in the day. So oftentimes if that's the case, if I'm sitting down with a patient, we're looking at their diet, I'll have them think about how to either reduce that sweet taste earlier in the day, or balance that with more bitter foods. So I'll have them eat more greens or dark chocolate, or drink a cup of black coffee or some green tea, or something that has some natural bitter compounds can offset that desire for more sweet later in the day. I talk about stress and sleep, because as we all know, if we didn't have a good night's sleep the night before, that next day we're so hungry, and that catches up with people in the evening. So sometimes it's just having people put themselves to bed earlier, then so they get away from that nighttime eating if they didn't sleep well the night before. If someone's under a lot of stress, we talk about things we can do to help offset some of that stress response. Another thing I'll have people think about is their food environment or food imaging. So if at night they commonly get into trouble with food and they're watching TV and it has a lot of food commercials, or if they're on Instagram or scrolling social media and they follow a lot of food bloggers, sometimes that suggestion of food just isn't, the timing isn't great in the evening. So I'll have them just take a break from that, or try to put themselves in an environment without as many food messages. And that can also help if they're sometimes eating because it's more suggestive than they're truly hungry. So those are some of the things I talk about with patients. One last thing that I think is a little controversial but really can work for someone is I'll have them overeat at dinner good food. I'll have them overeat protein or overeat vegetables to the point where they're somewhat uncomfortable, to help them to not want to eat anything the rest of that night. And usually if someone does that for 1 or 2 nights, it can kind of help them to break that cycle. So sometimes just having them eat more protein or way more vegetables than they normally do will get them out of that habit, because they physically have no room to take in more food. So that's what I have. I'm excited to hear how you counsel patients who have that same concern, Jamie.
Awesome. Thank you, Katherine. These are great.